I've been having trouble with trying to solidify my opinions on this game, so I'm just going to rant for a while and maybe something will come out of it. I will open with this, however. If you like mouthwashing, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, enjoy what you want to enjoy. I'm just trying to voice my weird feelings on it in a way that doesn't take 3 hours. Mouthwashing is one of the newest additions to the online horror space and has been getting praise from almost every person I've seen play it. If you haven't played it or aren't familiar, it's an indie horror game developed by Wrong Organ where you experience a non-linear series of events pertaining to the crash of a deep space cargo hauler and the crew trying to survive as they are stranded in the void of space. Now, I really like horror, probably my favorite genre, and I've been wanting to play some new stuff lately, so I was pretty excited to give this game a try. And ultimately, I was disappointed. I don't think mouthwashing is through and through bad, but I do think it suffers from something I'm just going to call a popularity paradox. Yeah, that'll get your attention, let's go with that. My overall problem with mouthwashing is that while a splendid effort from the team behind it, I feel that there is far too much drawing of inspiration on already existing properties. Kai Moore openly stated that it borrows from a lot of movies, such as Alien, Event Horizon, The Thing, Pandora, and so on. And you know what? I definitely feel it when playing through this game. There are too many portions and ideas that feel patchworked into the narrative, to the point that I begin wondering where the original thoughts went. I really like the ceiling foam concept. I think that's a super neat technology for a sci-fi setting, this self-hardening foam that holds a ship together in the event of a crash. But now, I don't even know if this is an original idea from the writers of this game, or if it was something else taken from a movie I haven't seen before. Even when I can't directly place the thing that a scene is referencing, it feels really easy to tell when something has been taken from somewhere else. And yet at the same time, without these selling points, without these kinds of references or familiar imagery or themes, this game wouldn't have become nearly as popular as it has, I think. The people have cozied up to it because they recognize the pieces of it. Or they just draw fan art of Anya getting with other crew members. Hey, maybe we stop doing that? Just, no? This is the popularity paradox I mentioned before. I feel that there are so many aspects taken from other popular pieces of media that it bloats the game and weighs down its own originality. But without these aspects, no one would have been willing to give it a try because people aren't as willing to dive into something brand new without some kind of comparison. Oh, it's like Resident Evil but in space, or something to that effect. The very face of the game draws on current trends and childhood memories. While the devs probably went this route because it's a style they enjoy as well, the visuals still play on people's nostalgia for PS2 era titles by having this low poly art style, which I should add, I do like. I never had a PS2 growing up, or very many consoles at all for that matter, so I'm not baited by nostalgia when I say that I think the graphics are fun and I do enjoy them. However, I don't think that this kind of resurgence is going to last very long. I just don't think it has the staying power to stick around without people starting to say, oh look, another PS2 core game, how original, in a matter of months. Or maybe people's nostalgia will just continue to overwhelm them anyways, who's to say? Regardless, this look is in vogue at the moment, and so it's very appealing to a lot of people for however long this trend remains relevant. I don't want to linger on this point any longer though, because I think the artists worked their asses off and did a spectacular job with the way it looks. Like really, I think the parts of mouthwashing that feel the most original, with the way the characters are presented and the writing and the very evident passion that went into making this game, are the things I like the most about it. This team is obviously talented, and I was just disappointed by how much of it felt like they were playing to crowds, intentionally or not. Pole is the prime example of this popularity paradox I wanted to discuss, the game's in-story mascot character. Now, to those who haven't played Mouthwashing but might be a little familiar with it, you may think I'm referencing the Bandage Man that you've probably seen on social media. And you'd be incorrect. This is Pole, a cartoon horse created by the company, meant to be a way of helping crew members cope with the long journeys they have to make on their job. There are multiple inspirational posters plastered throughout the ship featuring Pole, and even an animatronic in the lounge. And yet, all I see is Freddy Fazbear was popular, so let's make our own mascot for people to fandom over and draw art for. And the ironic part of it all? Pole isn't even the popular one with people. It's Curly, the Bandage Man. Yes, it's a much more visceral image to see a badly burnt man covered in bandages with one eye staring back at you than a cartoon horse. And are there little TikTok babies that exist who have just seen Curly without playing Mouthwashing and just latched onto it with cosplay and art because it's currently popular? Absolutely, no doubt in my mind that this has happened too. But it goes to show how little staying power Pole had for people who have played the game, despite constantly reappearing and tormenting the protagonist over and over again throughout the game. Pole literally haunts you in the opening of the game as you try to escape the ship's helm, which killed part of the interest in that scene for me. That first story beat where you actively fly the ship into a meteor, really engaging. And then they turn around and backhand you with knockoff SCP-173 that you're probably going to forget about by the end of the game. Hell, Anya is making more of an influence. Again, stop it. You're being gross. But then we also have my favorite section of the whole game, the Invisible Horse Room. Despite being a very simple section to play through, just slow walking across platforms and standing still when the invisible creature comes running at you, I thought this was legitimately the scariest and most original part of the game that I am aware of. You're just trying to get from one place to another, and that whole time there is something running around, neighing and galloping and thundering about the place, and you can't see it unless you turn on the captain's scanner, and it just happens to be right in front of you. This horrifying, twisted horse's head just inches from your face. That is the good stuff. This was awesome. But the problem I have is that in order for this section to not come out of nowhere and actually have some degree of relevance to the plot, we need the horse animatronic to be established earlier, and that part feels dumb and tacked on. So the part that was so good needs the part that hurts the game just as equally. This is the problem at hand, that there are great things and ideas within this game, but in order for some parts to succeed, or for people to even give the game a shot, it feels the need to include all this nonsense to make itself popular. And then people will cling to those familiar aspects, yada yada yada. The abstract Mind Palace scenes are cool looking, yes, but whenever I think about them for more than 5 seconds, I can't help but feel either confused or disappointed. Why are we having a shootout in a graveyard with Swansea at the end? Because of Daisuke? It feels like we just got sucked into a completely different game tonally, like Resident Evil or Silent Hill. Why do I feel like I just got sucked into the end of Evangelion here? What's the point of the fourth wall break with the objective text when Jimmy is yelling at Anya? Yeah, it's cool, they're neat moments, but they pass just as quickly without really sticking with me. Again, the 2 moments that did stick with me the most are ruined by this crappy attempt to create another spooky animatronic character in one way or another. And I'm a sucker for cool associative or abstract imagery, but the stuff in this game just feels so out of left field at times that it rips me out of the story and is immensely distracting. Even this video uses the same kinds of traits as this game. A popularity paradox, the white thumbnail with text and 1 or 2 characters. Come on, these are the ways every YouTuber tries to grab your attention. And it works. I find myself having to manually restrain myself from just automatically clicking on bait on my homepage at times. Videos that, after about 2 seconds of thought, I realize I'm not actually that interested in this situation at all. But if I want people to see it and watch it, I gotta have these elements there in the first place. That's what annoys me about Mouthwashing. It's that I feel like I'm getting reference after reference tossed at me when I'm trying to enjoy the game, but I never would have heard about the game in the first place if people hadn't played it, and people wouldn't have discovered it so quickly if it didn't have those references or popular themes to begin with. The last major complaint I have about Mouthwashing doesn't really have to do with the paradox, but I still want to bring it up. I don't think this works as a game. Its runtime is short enough, 2.5 hours, which is nice, but it feels like the horror game equivalent of this could have been an email, except making a movie. Now, I know that a movie is way harder to make than a game. And I'm also not saying that games are easy. Look, I did comp sci. I am very fucking aware how tough it is. There is no shade being thrown for that. What I mean is that from a creative standpoint, making a game is a lot easier than approaching a studio or finding the money and people and equipment and all that jazz to put together a movie. But I felt that the gameplay elements didn't really engage me any more than a well-shot movie would. For having such a non-linear storyline, the game feels extremely rigid for progression. You can watch a whole playthrough of the game on YouTube, and you will get the exact same experience out of it as though you had just played it yourself, to a T. Again, the only section where I actually felt like the interactive nature of it being a video game really mattered was during the Invisible Horse section. Everything else fit the tone of a weird art house film pretty closely, and I think this would do really well as one. I don't like saying things are overrated because I feel like that word is used to be very dismissive without giving a good argument, but I genuinely think that this game is a bit overrated, at least from the kind of praise I've seen it getting. And a little part of me worries that some of this praise doesn't come from being deserved, but from playing those bad angles, having so many references and pulling from too many things for its own good, playing on nostalgia, etc., etc. It's a perfectly fine game, but it doesn't excel or compel me in any way. Nothing has really stuck with me about this game besides these very confused feelings, and it makes me feel like shit to be so critical of it. But I was looking forward to enjoying the game, and all I got out of it was just a passable experience, you know? I don't want to shit on the devs too much, though. As I said, it's very clear that this was something made by people who really care, and there are parts of the package that are really good. I may check out how Fish is made, another game by Wrong Organ, because I get a good feeling from this team. And maybe I'll keep an eye out for any future projects, because I'm sure they're coming. Hey, Wrong Organ, I'm serious when I say this. I'm super glad that your game did well. Very happy to see it and see people enjoying it. And let's be honest for a moment here, you've made your bag. I'm pretty sure you'll be making something else now with the success, and that's great. I'm just hoping that next time you'll pull back on being so blatant with your inspirations and let your own ideas flourish more openly. And with that open letter out of the way, we can wrap up here. Thank you for listening to me ramble all the way to the end. How do you feel about Mouthwashing? Do you feel similarly, completely different? Drop it all in the comments below. I love seeing your guys' thoughts. As part of my plan to expand into more kinds of videos, I would love to do more horror stuff. I've got Who's Lila in the back pocket for now while I work on the very long Limbus Company review, so let me know if that would interest you, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out when I do get around to making those vids. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.